I'm going to take you back to 1844 to a small town in England called Rochdale. In England, it was the end of the Industrial Revolution, and Rochdale, along with other towns across England, had been transformed into a factory town. The main industry was textiles, and for decades the people of Rochdale had been working hard in the town's textile factories, using machines and steam power to spin yarn and weave fabric. The hours were long and everyone worked hard, even the children. There was overcrowding, poor sanitation, the spread of disease, and the wages were so low that people could barely afford to pay for food and rent for their families. The average life expectancy was only 21 because so many people died of malnutrition, hunger, disease, and accidents. But not everyone in the town was doing poorly. In fact, the owners of the textile factories were doing very well for themselves. In many cases, the factory owners also owned the grocery stores. These were the only stores open after factory hours, so workers had no choice but to shop there. They could charge whatever they wanted, and although it was illegal, some owners paid wages partly through tokens only redeemable in their own stores. To make things even worse, factory stores would tamper with their weights and often added water to their milk, chalk to their flour, and ground up bones or sawdust to their bread, all to make some extra profit. So imagine you live in the town of Rochdale with your family, and you work hour after hour, day after day, not sleeping enough, not getting enough nourishing food, being cheated by your bosses every day while your kids suffer, and feeling helpless to make change. This was the experience of many of the workers in Rochdale. It was out of these conditions that a small group of workers started to gather by candlelight at the end of their long days. 28 people got involved, and after sharing their stories of grief and despair, decided that they would work together to try to change their circumstances. They decided to each do their best to save money to open a store of their own. They saved and borrowed, each contributing £1 sterling, the equivalent of 136 pounds of modern money. This was the equivalent of many weeks of wages at that time. With their £28, they rented a space in an old warehouse on Toad Lane, and with their money bought 5 staple groceries: butter, sugar, flour, oats, and candles. The candles were not sold but used to light the store, as the gas company refused to supply a store which might challenge traditional business. The first evening they opened, some townspeople of Rochdale gathered to laugh at and intimidate them, sure that they were doing something foolish. But instead they witnessed the birth of the first consumer co-op, which managed to provide vital products at fair prices to their members. They had purchased in bulk and were able to sell their goods at lower prices than the factory stores. They sold quality goods fairly, and more people started to buy a share, contributing £1 sterling, usually through installments, in order to shop at the store, and at the end of the year, the members shared the profits. The 28 people who began the store on Toad Lane are known as the Rochdale Pioneers, and as the days followed, it became clear that they had accomplished something extraordinary. Later, they were open during the daytime and had added tea and other items, including meat, to their stock. They would eventually go on to sell all manner of goods and household products. By the 1850s, there were over 1,000 members, and they were operating a healthy business with branches in other parts of the town. People have worked together in communities for centuries, but the Rochdale Pioneers started the first consumer co-op. The pioneers in Rochdale worked together to meet the needs of their members and empowered themselves to make a positive change. The cooperative principles they developed are the basis for the 7 international principles of co-ops that are used today.